Did you know that every word you speak matters? Are your conversations making a difference? With a passion for words and a heart for conversation, Teresa Velardi is a self-professed word nerd, best-selling author, BizCat 360 columnist, and publisher. Children's books as well as fiction and nonfiction books are welcomed at We Be Books Publishing and Book Endeavors, the imprints of her company, Authentic Endeavors Publishing. Whether written or spoken, Teresa strives to encourage and inspire meaningful conversations that make a difference. Here's the host of Conversations That Make a Difference, Teresa Velardi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations That Make a Difference. I am Teresa Velardi, and I am excited to be here with some really, really awesome women today. Jessie Caroline and Amanda Gust. We are going to be talking about all things Born Abel. So before we get started with that conversation, let me just say that Conversations That Make a Difference airs live at 5 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of the month. And you can see all of the shows. If you're up at 5 in the morning, they replay 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. every Tuesday. And you can see them all on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Just go to my page, Conversations That Make a Difference, and you'll be able to get to the archives if you want to watch them at your own pace. So before we get started, I always like to start with a prayer. And I usually start with the serenity prayer. So let's do that now. God, grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I would also like to say that it is by God's grace that we are fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in our purpose, making a difference for others with passion and purpose, and all of God's great universe is conspiring in our favor. And together we say, Amen. Amen. So let me introduce these lovely ladies. We have a lot to talk about today, so I want to get started. So Jessie Caroline has appeared on numerous television shows, including Oprah, The Today Show, Fox News, CNBC, and many more. She's been the keynote speaker at over 3,000 events around the world. With very humble beginnings, living with no running water or electricity in Wisconsin to an orphanage in Mexico, she has an unbelievable rags to riches story. Of all of her accomplishments, her greatest achievement has been by far her family. She and her husband's patchwork family live a down-to-earth, simplistic Christian lifestyle. They homeschool their children at their lake house and spend their days enjoying their kids and building character through teaching good old-fashioned values. Recently, with the birth of her twins, Jessie has started the Born Abel Foundation, focused on books with children and with disabilities. And all the books feature her son, Abel, who's born with trisomy 18. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. And on the other side of the screen, we have Amanda Gust. Amanda's personal experiences shaped her passion for helping mothers and babies in need. She is a co-founder of Born Abel and hosts their weekly podcast, highlighting parents and caregivers of children with disabilities. Amanda is also neighbors in the same area with Jessie. So the two of these ladies work together to do the best they can to bring their message to the world. And you can learn more about them and the Born Abel Foundation at Born Abel. It's BORNABEL.com. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So today is a big day for Born Abel. We have published the very first book, and I got my copy today. I know you did too, Jessie. So
Yes.
This is the first copy of Born Abel. I Am Able, Amazingly Abled Kids. Okay, so now we changed the cover in the production, and it's actually going to look like this. Okay, this is a little off the page, but this little boy is your son, Abel. Tell me how this came about.
I am trying not to cry through this whole show. Don't get me like right away, Teresa, like 2 minutes in. Well, last year, my husband and I decided to adopt a couple of embryos. And it took us a while to kind of get our head around it because we haven't heard of adopting embryos before. I didn't know anyone who adopted embryos. So it took some research and some looking into, but we found that there are some embryos that get discarded, actually quite a few, sadly. And we decided that since we already had a lot of kids and this was going to be our kind of quote unquote last try, we wanted to give some embryos a chance that may not have had the best chance at adoption. So we adopted a couple embryos that were considered mosaic or complex abnormal, which is really just a complicated way of saying that they weren't really like easily adoptable.
So let me ask you before you go on, where did these embryos come from that you have the opportunity to adopt them?
So many people in the US and around the world, but specifically in the US, have do IVF. And there isn't very many regulations in regards to how many embryos people can make in the US specifically. So there's over 1 million embryos that are frozen in the US.
So just so that the audience gets a picture for this whole thing, if I'm understanding you correctly, a couple goes through IVF, they take the embryos they need, they get pregnant, they have their baby. The rest of them are actually frozen, waiting for them in case they decide to have more children. Right. And if they decide not to, or if they've used as many as they can, these are the embryos we're talking about that sometimes get up for adoption, correct?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. And the US really doesn't have a lot of regulation on this, so people can make as many, or you've probably heard the term designer baby. And unfortunately, there are a lot of embryos, over 1 million in the US, that are frozen, and many of them never get used or are just thrown away. Well, in our particular situation, I had put a message out on a Facebook board saying that we wanted to adopt embryos that weren't quote unquote adoptable. And a mother reached out to me, and I have so much respect for her. And again, I'm going to start crying because she did everything to get her embryos adopted. And there many of them get testing done, and the testing kind of prevents them from being adopted in a lot of cases. And that was the case with our babies, is they were considered, like I said, after the testing was done, they were considered mosaic or complex abnormal, so not perfect. So we thought, okay, let's give this a shot. Let's implant these 2 embryos and see what happens. And I mean, there was a big chance that they wouldn't have implanted at all, or one would have taken, but both of them did, and they are both absolute miracles. And then at about 33 weeks pregnant, I had to get some fluid taken off because I had a lot of poly in one of the twin sacs. And that's when I had it tested, and it showed that Abel, the little boy that you pointed to on the cover of the book,
this little beauty right here,
has trisomy 18, which I was like, what's that? I mean, I knew a little bit, but what I had known about trisomy 18 at the time was all negative. I mean, there's not really a lot of positivity around trisomy 18. Most people hear of trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome, but trisomy 18, trisomy 13, they're not talked about as much. And if that they're mentioned at all, the next thing that's mentioned, and this was in my case, was funeral paperwork. So hearing this from the doctor was, as you can imagine, completely devastating. Especially, we had these miracle babies, and then to find out almost when I'm like ready to give birth that one of them might not make it. It was horrible, but we decided, like, hey, we got this far and we gave this baby a chance. We're going to give him a chance all the way through. And give him full interventions and do everything that we can for his life. And here we are, 6
Here we
months
are.
later.
So now, how old are the twins now? The twins were born in January, right? January 27th. Yes.
Yeah. So they just turned 6 months old.
Yay.
And there's been a lot of like hurdles and ups and downs and very scary moments, but it's just all been an incredible journey. And
Right.
I think, I mean, I feel still like I'm in survival mode, you know, every day is kind of up and down. But I feel that I really wanted to share more about him and about trisomy 18 and other kids that may have also had a diagnosis at birth or later that was considered quote unquote terminal, or that their quote unquote quality of life wouldn't be as good. I wanted to highlight that they do have quality of life, and I hate that term.
Yeah.
But their life is beautiful.
Right. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the children who have trisomy 18, who you actually get a chance to talk to their parents and they are part of this book series. So I want to go to Amanda. Amanda, how did you come to be part of this conversation? Did the two of you meet because of Jessie's situation?
Kinda. So last summer, I had actually created a Facebook group here in Minnesota called Loving Them Both. And it was basically for moms to come together to support other moms and women in our community, which is something that's very close to my heart because of my own personal experience. And Jessie was actually one of the moms in my group helping moms while she was pregnant with twins. And so from this group, we kind of got to watch her pregnancy on social media from afar. And then towards the end of her pregnancy, when she found out about baby B, as we named him at the time, about his diagnosis, I just kind of reached out to her and I was like, hey, I'm here for anything that you need. And when the boys were born and Abel was in the NICU, we actually met because I put together a basket for all of the NICU staff with like snacks and goodies. And I walked into her hospital room one day. I think the boys were probably like less than a week old. And that's how we met.
Wow. So, every time I hear stories like this, now I'm going to cry.
I think the first night that when we met, we sat there, I was probably close to 4 hours. It was late. We went late. But we immediately just had so much in common and just shared about our journeys to and through motherhood. And it was
well, you have your own experience with the NICU, right? And what I was going to say is I go to scripture, Romans 8:28, that God puts people together for good, and this is a perfect example of how the two of you have taken your life experiences and are giving information and a hand up to other people, other women, other families that may be going through similar situations. So you want to talk a little bit about your NICU experience?
Well, I didn't really have a NICU experience. Well, I had two experiences. I became a mom when I was 18. I was actually assaulted and I found out I was pregnant, and I decided to keep my baby, who is now 13 years old, and just a amazing blessing to everyone he meets. I always say that, God gave him to me instead of the other way around. So he's started my journey to motherhood. I never wanted to have kids, and then he kind of changed that perspective. And then my next son that I had, I actually lost at 19 weeks. It was a stillborn. He was stillborn. And so that really just put into perspective for me, like how important and delicate life is, and how we should be helping the mothers and the babies when we can.
Yeah. And is that why you started your Loving Them Both? Is that one of the reasons why you did that?
Yeah, my experience, both of my experiences with my sons just really showed me how important life is and how women need support. And I was so blessed when I was 18 to have so many strangers provide me with things. I didn't have to buy anything from
Wow.
just the kindness of other people. And now, 13 years later, I found myself in the position, because of God's blessing for me, that I was able to do that for other people.
Right. Wow. And that's, and so it's so wonderful that the two of you now have put your heads together for this, to make this foundation happen. And we're going to talk some about the foundation, and the different things that you do. I just want to let everybody know, Born Abel, ABEL, is the website, bornabel.com, where you can go and you can see a lot of the things that these ladies are putting together. I'm blessed to know Jessie through a mutual friend for some time now, and I've seen her patchwork family come together over the years. It's just amazing the hearts that the two of you have for these children and for families who have similar circumstances and similar situations. And Jessie, I've been talking to you about these books, and these books are just flowing from you. And I really believe that when we have stepped into our purpose, that God provides everything that we need, including the words that we say, and the pages of these books, and, through what you're doing with the foundation, in order to be able to go forward and to support other people in their journey. So, I just want to show a couple of pages in here, because when you heard the diagnosis of trisomy 18 and the research that you did, a lot of the information that you found was not hopeful, right? But
No, not at all.
Right. But then you found some places to look for information, where you found a lot of people who have children who actually are living pretty good lives with a trisomy 18, an extra chromosome there. So you want to talk a little bit about how you found them and how you introduced them to the possibility of being part of this book?
Sure. Well, first on Google, I found nothing. Like, everything was like completely like just awful. I mean, people told me too, don't Google it. So most of what I found was from Facebook. And I'm not a huge Facebook fan, but I do really like the groups on Facebook. So I joined a bunch of trisomy 18 groups, and I started talking to parents. And that's where I found real stories, not from studies, not from genetic information. It was just from parents that are really living it. And you know what? It's so funny, because yesterday I had a geneticist in Abel's room yesterday, came in for the first time. He's been, around in the NICU for 6 months. The first time in 6 months, a geneticist walked in my door, and I spent about 40 minutes with this guy, and he might have like regretted being in the room with me a little bit. But it's just funny what they say versus what we see. And it's really sad. And this is one thing I talked to him about. It's really sad that they're not willing to get more data either, because the data that they have on trisomy 18 is so limited. I even asked him, I'm like, well, what child with trisomy 18 have you tested past birth? And he couldn't give me an answer. He was like, oh, well, none. Well, okay, well, wouldn't you want to, to see where they're at after birth? But they don't. I mean, the data and the studies are just so old, and there's just not much out there. So the parents are the ones that really have the data, and they can tell you what their kids are doing and how absolutely full of life they are. And that it was what was encouraging to me. Yeah. So when I was posting pictures on these Facebook pages of me and my pregnant belly and saying, I just found out, that one of my babies has trisomy 18. Please tell me, what to expect. And just seeing post after post of these parents with their children and their names and their ages and what they like to do. That was what was, I'll start crying again, encouraging to me.
Yeah.
So that's really what this first book is about, is just showcasing children. And there are a lot of kids with trisomy 18 in this first book, that what they can do, what they are able to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Faith. She plays the piano. She plays the piano. She loves to play her piano, and she's pretty great. She's overcome a lot. And that's not up for debate. These children are going to have their challenges, but they also, they also have a life that they find things that they enjoy. They have a purpose for us. And, one of the things that is really amazing to me is one of the things I remember having a conversation with you about is that God has a great purpose for this little boy. And just seeing in his first 6 months of life, the things that his mom, who graciously and gratefully adopted this child, is making a difference from all the things that you're doing.
Well, he's blessed us so much.
Yes,
so it's
yes,
not me.
indeed.
It's totally him. And
Indeed.
all the glory
Indeed.
goes to God. So
Indeed. All glory to God. Exactly. We have to go to a break. We're going to be back, which is going to be a few minutes. And we'll be back to talk more to Jessie Caroline and Amanda Gust. We're going to talk about the podcast next. And we'll be back to talk more about all things Born Abel.
With the hustle and bustle of today's world, how often do you take time to practice gratitude? More importantly, how can you make it a habit? The Grateful Hearts community is a group of like-minded people focusing on what's going right and being grateful. Gratitude is more than putting a smile on your face and being thankful for the roof over your head. It's about expanding your perception and finding ways to find gratitude for, in, and through the challenges we face every day. Gratitude is a feeling of connection to things higher than yourself, to God, and to others. We focus on light, positivity, and connections. You make a difference. When we join our grateful hearts together, the power of community attracts more people and even more to be grateful for. Expressing gratitude and feeling grateful is infectious, so let's share it. Join our Grateful Hearts community and watch your blessings blossom. Learn more at gratefulheartscommunity.com and join the community at facebook.com/The Grateful Hearts Community.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through mayhem to miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
Did you know that every word you speak matters? What you say and how you say it can make or break a relationship or shift the outcome of any situation. Are your conversations making a difference? Faith in God, gratitude, authenticity, and giving are Teresa Velardi's heart. It's in this spirit that she's focused on making a difference in the lives she's blessed to touch. Conversations That Make a Difference is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back with Jessie Caroline and Amanda Gust. Amanda, you are at the helm of the podcast. Now, I know that you've got a couple of episodes under your belt already. And so tell me a little bit about what the podcast is about, who you're talking to, and just let us in on it.
Yeah, well, in the search for children to be featured in our books, we were already having conversations with parents about their child, what they were diagnosed with, their experience. And we kind of discovered that, well, a lot of the stories were the same. They were also different. And a lot of people, myself included, not having a child with a complex medical diagnosis, I had no idea what some of these parents were going through. It was a complete shock to me. And so we really wanted to highlight these parents and these children's stories, so that parents who might be getting a prenatal diagnosis have like a story or a place to go to listen to these conversations with actual parents, but also for parents like me who don't have children in those situations, so that we can learn what these other parents are going through. And so I think we were just like, let's do a podcast. And it came together, and probably, like most of the things we've tried to plan out, came together in less than a week. But that's God. That's God guiding it, really.
That's what God does.
Yeah.
Puts it together, and next thing you know, boom.
Yep. So I never thought I would be hosting a podcast. I'm an avid podcast listener. I'll put host onto my resume. So yeah, I enjoy it. I feel very blessed that these parents are willing to share their stories about their children with me, and just the vulnerability it takes to be honest about some of the things that they've gone through. I just feel completely grateful that they let me hear it from them.
Right. And you're posting your podcast on Spotify, correct?
Yes.
And on the website?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep. Mondays, every Monday at 8 p.m. So I've had 3 episodes now. So it's been great.
Yeah, awesome. I love doing the podcast. I get to speak to people who are truly and honestly making a difference in the world today. And I get lit up by all of these things. And you two ladies are really, really doing a great job of bringing some information out to the world. Tell me some of the other things that you're involved in with Born Abel, Amanda.
So we have Abel's Closet, which is another thing that we can only give thanks to God for. But so when I was doing the Loving Them Both Facebook group, a lot of what I was doing was traveling all over the state of Minnesota, collecting baby items for women in need. And I had 3 or 4 girls that were like religiously helping me in this pursuit of like getting whatever somebody needed. And so we decided to like put it together as a store. And so it's a donation-based mom and baby store, boutique style. And I wanted that kind of experience because, like I said, when I was pregnant with my first son, so many strangers donated stuff to me out of the goodness and kindness of their hearts, but realized between baby 1 and baby 5 was like I missed out on that planning, like getting to
Wait a minute. Baby 1 and baby 5. Did you say 5?
Yeah. Me and Jessie have a combined 12 kids together. So
we're not busy at all.
So no. Yes. So the one thing that I realized with my last child, he turns 3 in December, and I was finally at this point in my life where I was stable. I had left a really unhealthy marriage. I was married again and happy, and my family was blossoming. And I had found a relationship with Christ. That this one thing that I missed out on was like getting to really prepare and celebrate for my baby. And I'm thankful for the people that donated the items for me, but I missed out on that. I missed out on the fun part. So we wanted to make Abel's Closet like a boutique style store where women can come in and actually shop for the things that they need. And it's all donation based. It's all Minnesota moms right now cleaning out their closets and handing it over for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you see happening with this? I have to tell you, when I heard you did this, I was like, they need these in every county, in every state, and all over the country.
Yeah, I would love to see it. And I think one day, absolutely, it will be, I will be all over the US.
Yeah, I see that happening. I see that happening. Do you collaborate with organizations like Salvation Army, Goodwill? Are any of them funneling any baby needs to you yet, or
No,
anything?
we don't. And I've had women reach out to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful I found something like what you're doing with Abel's Closet, because I have all of these things to donate, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable giving it to somebody who's going to turn around and sell it." So the whole point of Abel's Closet is it's completely no cost, absolutely free. And I think the amazing part about it is that it's moms helping moms.
Yeah.
So we kind of want
Yeah.
to keep the big donations or corporations out of it.
Yeah.
And
Good
we
for
don't
you.
want it to feel like charity either. We want
Yeah.
No.
people to come in and pick through it if they want and take what they need. And when they're done with it, to turn around and give it back if they so
Mhm.
choose.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Unless you have really messy boys like me. Those clothes just go in the garbage.
Yeah.
Goodness. Yeah, your little Levi, and
Yeah.
I tell you, I get the biggest kick out of your kids. But you know what I really love about the two of you is you are just without sounding corny, you are wholesome women. Like, you make sure that your children are I know this of Jessie, and I see some of it with you, Amanda, through the pictures that you post and whatnot. But what I want to say is, like, these kids have imaginative play. They're not on devices. They're not lost in the world of technology. They're enjoying their childhood. My son said something to me one day. He says, "Mom, when you grew up, was it like this?" I was like, "Heck no, it was not. It was not anything like this." And so kudos to both of you for really speaking good things into your children, giving them an opportunity to see what it looks like to live a Christian life and a wholesome life. And the two of them don't always go together, but in this case they do. So
Absolutely.
yeah, totally, absolutely. So now there's other things that you're doing. Let's talk about you've got Abel's Closet. What else is on the website that people can find when they go to look there? Besides
We have a spot on the website for we're working with Brad Smith, and he was one of the first dads that I talked to with. Actually, Amanda set up this call for me. I think I was still pregnant at the time, Amanda, wasn't I? Or was Abel little? It was like a couple weeks old.
Abel, yeah, this is another crazy God moment, because it was through that one save the one, and I was looking up another mom and I found Brad. So Abel was probably 4 weeks old, I think. Yeah, it was.
And we were just looking for other stories of children with trisomy 18 because I just needed hope. I mean, it was a really scary time. And not to say that there still aren't scary times, but this was a really scary time. And I was talking with Amanda and crying with Amanda, and she went online and she found this family. Brad and Jessie Smith have a little girl, Faith, who actually you just read her page in the book.
Of all the kids in here, I
know. She's 14 now, I think.
Yep. 14.
But I spoke to him on the phone, and he gave me a lot of direction where to turn to and who to talk with as far as doctors and how to advocate. And that's one thing that I had no idea. I mean, that was something I think we're all raised to just trust the doctors. The doctors know best. Just trust what they say. Well, as a parent with a child with any kind of severe medical need, I think you learn quickly that the doctors don't always have the right answers. And doctors will even admit that. I think they'll say, well, we're just practicing, Well, Brad and Jessie helped me quite a bit. I talked on the phone with Brad so many times, and he's directed me towards doctors to talk with. He's put me on the phone with doctors. I've emailed with doctors across the country. So we put on our website a little form to get in touch with Brad. So this is the doctor directory, and Brad is willing to help any parent that needs help looking for a doctor to, help their kids in any way, whether to get, like with Abel, we had asked him about heart surgery, what surgeons would be open to this, because there were many doctors that just flat out told us, even though we may not get surgery on Abel's heart at this time, they just told us, oh, we would never even consider looking at his heart because he has trisomy 18.
So your experience, and I've heard you say this a number of times, a lot of, because there were so many different aspects to what can happen with trisomy 18 diagnosis and other diagnoses, not just this one. A lot of these doctors, hospitals, they, for whatever reason, they don't make these children a priority.
Right.
And so what's someone to do? I know that you have gone, as you just shared, with Brad's help now, I know, you've talked to many, many doctors and about the various things that Abel has going on, and you've been able to get some answers through that, through who and how you can make some connections. It shouldn't be that hard to take care of our children. Mm-hmm. It should not be that hard to take care of our children. So frustrates the heck out of me when I think about it.
It's just crazy to even think about. I didn't even know it was even happening until I had Abel. And the first thing that they recommend is just termination. That's we're not going to help you, but we can definitely terminate your baby. That's the first recommendation.
And that's almost every hospital, every parent that we've talked to with trisomy 18 has shared the same experience, to include mothers being asked almost every appointment if they want to terminate. So they've already said no, and they're still asked every single time they go into a doctor if they want to terminate. Sad.
So what are some of the issues that, if trisomy 18 in particular, what are some of the issues that you have discovered, medical issues, that people who have babies who have trisomy 18, maybe you can give us a little bit more information on that. Somebody's asking about Abel's condition on the chat inside YouTube. We're live on YouTube right now. So what are some of the things that you've, an average, not even an average, because it's so different in every child. What are some of the issues that people can be aware of when we're talking about trisomy 18? Yeah.
Well, it's such a wide range. That is what's so crazy about it. There are a lot of parents that will be told your baby has trisomy 18. We don't see any other abnormalities on ultrasound, but we will still abort your baby. We want to keep it, they still say the gloom and doom, even if there isn't any other abnormalities on the ultrasound whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So there can be everything from, heart defects to, with Abel, he has an enphaloceal, which is some of his intestines were outside of his body, inside of the umbilical cord. So he has kind of a bump on his belly, or lung issues, or just clenched hands, or the little rocker bottom feet. So it can kind of be a very large range. And what we have been told by doctors that have cared and have really treated Abel with like a normal child, is that let's look at what are the things that we need to address. Let's put the diagnosis aside and look at the things that we need to address. With him specifically, he was born with an omphalocele, and we knew that he was going to have that right about 12 weeks in ultrasound, because we saw it. We saw his little bump on his belly. And there's a lot of kids that are born with omphalocele. They have 99% survival rate, according to Google. Not my favorite resource, but that's a pretty good stat. But then the trisomy 18 on top of that was a little different. So go ahead, sorry.
So the omphalocele, and you have the next book that's coming out in the Born Abel series is called
The Case of the Missing Belly Button.
Right. Now, so I did not know before your pregnancy and you telling me this. I did not know this. I've had my own child. Amanda, did you know this beforehand, that the baby's internal organs are actually formed outside the body and carefully drawn inside the body, and that omphalocele happens when all of the organs don't get back in before the
umbilical cord.
Yeah. So I had no clue that
these. Neither did I. I didn't even know how to pronounce it, Teresa.
I still have trouble pronouncing it.
Yeah. So, but the and there's a lot of kids that have this, like you said. And people directly who have had omphalocele and have had surgeries done and things put back in place, or where they were supposed to go in the first place. And sometimes they just don't have to do that. Sometimes they don't have to do that. It's not like they're not. When I first heard this, I was like, oh my goodness, they're going to come out and it's going to just be like, right there is going to be the liver, right there is going to be no, it's protected. It's protected.
Yeah, there's another, I forget the name of it. It's like, and there's another syndrome that they're not protected inside of the bubble, but then omphalocele has the kind of protective bubble around it.
Yeah.
So, which is good because there's less room for infection.
Right. And kids can have an omphalocele and not have trisomy 18. Omphalocele is something single and separate from, but can be part of a trisomy 18 baby's growth.
Right. So because of the omphalocele, really, Abel's lungs were very small, which you'd think that that's kind of strange because some of his organs were outside of his body. Why are his lungs small? I have no idea why. Like partially maybe there's the resistance there, who knows? But anyway, that's one thing that we really struggled with in the beginning is just breathing. So he came out breathing, and he was just on CPAP, but then he had to be intubated, which was the tube down his throat. And then now he has a trach. So hopefully he won't have that forever, just until his lungs get stronger and bigger. But he does have it for now.
Yeah, for now. So it's one step at a time, one situation at a time. And we have to go to one commercial at a time right now. So we're going to be right back with Jessie and Amanda as we're talking all things Born Abel. We'll be right back.
In order to be healthy and happy, there are 24 areas of your life to balance. With the All Things Wellness Wheel, you become self-empowered, allowing you to make healthier decisions about relationships, nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress, and even your value system. The All Things Wellness book series, written by Peggy Wilms and Dr. Marcus Wettstein, teaches you how to balance your wellness wheel in addition to sharing true stories from multiple contributing authors. Book 1, The Fourfold Formula, and Book 2, Win the Wellness War, We Are Responsible, are now available on Amazon. Reserve your spot now to become a published author in Book 3, Wellness GPS, Get Prepared for Success. Visit www.allthingswellness.com/authors for more information.
Why are we here? How can we be happy? Questions asked last from millennials to boomers. Crappy to Happy, Sacred Stories of Transformational Joy answers them using true stories of grit, grace, and love. James Redfield, author of The Celestine Prophecy, wrote in the foreword, "This book is a seminar about emerging truths and offers grounded solutions through the art of the comeback." Dr. Bernie Siegel, a contributing author, wrote, "Bodies die, but spirits and consciousness survive and recycle." So grab some tissues, open your book, and prepare to cry and laugh till it heals. Crappy to Happy by Reverend Ariel Patricia and Kathleen O'Keefe Cannabis. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and booksellers worldwide.
Do you have a personal story of hope or kindness to share? The Daily Gift book series, which began with a daily gift of gratitude, now available on Amazon, continues with a daily gift of hope and a daily gift of kindness. And we're looking for people just like you to share a story. Your daily gift of hope story might answer one of these questions. Is there a time when you felt hopeless and someone stepped in to change your view? Have you been an example of hope for someone else? Is hope something that you've always had? If so, how do you keep that hope alive? With hope, we have more energy and a purpose. It gets us out of bed in the morning. Daily Gift of Kindness might be your chance to talk about recognizing and spreading kindness to change the world. Practicing kindness lifts your spirit and your mood, warms your heart, and helps to navigate your way through today's challenges. Has an act of kindness from a stranger turned your day around? Have you ever paid it forward to someone or for someone? Your story matters, so visit dailygiftbookseries.com to find out more about how to submit your story for a daily gift of hope and a daily gift of kindness. Your stories make a difference.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we're back with Jessie and Amanda. You know, the Daily Gift of Gratitude was a little assignment that I got from God, and the series that comes with them, with it, next one being a Daily Gift of Hope, is also, it's part of that assignment. And so I have no choice but to do this, and it all comes together. Even if it looks like it's not going to happen, in the end, it all comes together. So I invite each of you two ladies to submit something for a Daily Gift of Hope. 300 words. Yeah, 300 to 325 words. And you can just go to dailygiftbookseries.com/hope, and you can see the type of stories that we're looking for. And there is no better place to talk about hope than right here, because, you know, I know that when you were in the delivery room and you didn't know what the outcome would be from that C-section, you know, to have hope that number one, that Abel would live, and number two, that he would be able to have a good life with you and the rest of your family, is just like, if that's not hope for somebody who's facing a situation, you know, setting aside all the odds and going to that place of, okay, this is my baby. I'm going to take care of my baby however possible, and I'm going to stand and advocate for this child and bring hope to all the people who are facing similar situations, is huge, huge. So the both of you have brought a lot of hope to a lot of people, even through Abel's Closet, when people may not be facing the same kind of circumstances that you're facing now, Jessie. You still are able to, you know, help somebody, give a hand up to somebody. And in this, you know, in this situation, the way the world is today, that in itself is.
We really hope so. We really hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I have a question here. They want to know, what do they do? They'd like to know more about what they discarded, where the discarded embryos, if people like you don't adopt them, where discarded embryos end up. Not that I want to talk about that, but I know it's not good.
Not good. No. They go in the trash, sadly. So
in the trash. Yeah. Can you imagine? I can't imagine.
I personally, I was talking to someone about this the other day, and I cannot encourage people more to adopt embryos. This is just my belief, my personal belief, but I'm not a huge fan of IVF. I don't like that people are able to produce so many embryos and not use them. I really have a problem with that. And I understand that it's a very sensitive subject because so many people they struggle to get pregnant, and it's really hard. And I've been there where, we actually, we wanted to have a baby so bad, and I had 7 IUIs before we had Levi. And IUI is different though, where they implant the sperm, not the embryo, isn't made externally. And it was very tempting not to do IVF because I wanted a baby so bad. But then then in the end, what ended up happening with us is that we got a call to adopt Amelia. And I tell her this story, and I say, I wouldn't have had gone through all that pain, I wouldn't have found you, so I'm going to cry, Teresa. This is like cry number 5 on your show. but
Stick around. We got more for you, Jess.
I know. But anyway, I would, however, recommend adopting these embryos because there's so many out there, and there's so many parents too that after the fact, after they had their baby, that they realize, wow, now I have these 8 additional embryos or 5 additional embryos or however many, that I can't like be a parent to all of these children. So I want to adopt them out, and kudos to them for even, putting them out there and trying. So I would definitely encourage anyone to adopt embryos. I've been through the adoption process, the foster care adoption process, and now the embryo adoption process. And I recommend them all.
Yes.
But there are a lot of embryos out there that need to be adopted.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, we talked about some of the circumstances under some of the symptoms, and you've got a list of books coming out. Just look at this list. So, and the next 2 actually deal with some of the symptoms that Abel has, right? And then the next one is the NICU experience. So the next one is the case of the missing belly button, which we talked about. And then there's a hole in my heart, right? And then NICU neighbors. And then 'Twas the Night Before Discharge. Now, these have all been just downloaded to you. Amanda shaking your head. Yes. And you, I have to say, I haven't experienced Amanda's writing yet. I'm sure it's coming, but I can tell you that having read a bunch of stuff that Jessie has written, you could tell it just flows, just okay, and you can put the pen to the paper or the hands to the keyboard, and it's just magic. There it is, so I've read these stories already. They're awesome.
Well, part of it too, I just want to say, a big part of the foundation is just highlighting other children in these books. So in our first book, I think we have 16 kids in, and the next one we have 20, the following one we have 20. And it's just so touching when I send the parent, because we don't charge or anything for a kid to be in the book. Any kid can be in the book. Any kid wants to be in the book, you call me, contact me, and I will put your kid in one of our books. It might not be
how does someone do that? There's a place on the site for that, right? On the website.
They can go right on the website and nominate a child for the book, and we will put their child in one of the upcoming books for sure. And I think the biggest thing for us is that we just want to celebrate your child. Let's celebrate them. And then also for my own kids, when they got this book, Teresa, we received it today. I got a video from my husband of them receiving it, and they're just like jumping up and down. They're so excited. And they get to read about these kids that are in wheelchairs or have trachs or have feeding tubes. And I think it's so important for all kids to see this as normal. This isn't something that a doctor should say, well, your kid is going to have X, Y, and Z. So do you want to make a decision? We should see this as normal. This is okay. Mm-hmm. And these kids are happy, and they have a beautiful life, and let's show that off.
Yeah, exactly.
And the parents are just like beside themselves with joy. And that alone, that makes me so happy. That makes me so happy to see that.
You too, Amanda. Amanda's face is glowing because she's like, yes, she's agreeing with everything. Yeah. So anything you want to add to this, Amanda?
Just to kind of go off of what Jessie said, it's so important. I always talk about how I have blonde hair, blue-eyed children. They're in every piece of culture, every piece of media. And just for these children, with the feeding tubes, with the trachs, in a wheelchair, to be able to look at a book and see themselves or see someone that looks them. Inclusivity, we need to be teaching that to our children, which is why I think like this children's book is just an amazing tool for that.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming out. Would you believe our hour is up already?
It went so fast.
It flew by. So everybody, so the book is available on Amazon.com, and the easiest way for you to find it is to put the author's name in, and the author's name is Abel Isaac, ABELISAAC, and just go in there and you'll see the book come up. The proceeds from the book all go to the foundation. Every penny that we take in goes to the foundation. So get your copy. And we'll be talking to you ladies down the line and seeing Abel's progress and what else you're up to. In the meanwhile, may all your conversations that you're having make a difference in the lives of someone else. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone. Have a great day.
Tune in next time for Conversations That Make a Difference with host Teresa Velardi every Tuesday at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, with live call-in shows every first and third Tuesday on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. Thank you for listening, and thank you to our producer Rachel and to our station owner Deborah Beauvais, working behind the scenes. Be sure to go to conversationsthatmakeadifference.com for your free gift.